It started in the dark corners of my mind, the quiet struggle of my own making, a life ruled not by intention, but by impulses I could never seem to control. My days blurred together in a confusion of distractions, from one short moment of gratification to another passing moment of wasted time. I would sit at my desk with dreams I wanted to accomplish, dreams and plans right in front of me, but one pull of my phone, one call from procrastination, always seemed to matter more to me than the voice inside urging me to start. At first, it felt harmless, almost like nothing at all, like skipping one step on a staircase. But before I realized it, those steps started to add up, and I found myself facing the huge distance I had created between where I was and where I wanted to be. Opportunities slipped through my fingers, projects dumped, goals put off regularly. I started to see the pattern, how my own lack of discipline led me nowhere. Worst of all, I created this direction out of my own choices. The boiling point came on a night that still replays in my mind today. I promised myself I would finish something, just one thing, but like usual, hours disappeared without a trace, lost to an empty hole of distractions. When I finally looked at the time, the regret of the hours I wasted silently washed over me like a cold rainfall. It wasn't just the fact that I didn't do what I promised. It was the realization that this was my life, breaking away in pieces I could never get back. In that moment, I felt it, a quiet desperation burning in my chest. Something had to change. I couldn't keep living like this, living the same empty cycle, hoping for a different result. Discipline wasn't just a skill I needed, it was the aid I'd been too afraid to take. And so, I stood at the end of that decision, knowing this was the only choice, knowing it was time to step forward. The first step felt massive, like standing at the base of a mountain and daring to take a step forward. I told myself it would be different this time, that I wouldn't fall back into old habits. But as soon as I started, I immediately felt the weight of my own habits, that heavy weight I had ignored for so long. Each passing second was a test. The phone on my desk, the notifications that lit up the screen, the call from comfort, all of it triggered me, reminding me that, in a split second, everything could change, how easy it would be to fall back into my old habits. Some days, I did. I would catch myself mindlessly scrolling or not getting my work done, all for the satisfaction of doing nothing at all. And when I did, the shame would eat me alive, sticking to me like a second skin, whispering that I was weak, that I wasn't strong enough to change. I would stare at the unfinished work in front of me, my mind racing with questions I couldn't answer. Why am I doing this? Why can't I be better? Why do I always fail? These questions kept racing in my mind until I remembered the small wins, the small steps that add up to something bigger. The first time I didn't give in to procrastination felt like a crack of light in a pitch dark room. This was the first time I actually did something I said I would do. No matter how small it was, it felt like I took back a part of me. Still, this was the start of a long path ahead. For every step forward, there were days that pulled me 2 steps back. Yet, in those moments of failure, I started to see something I had never seen before: resilience. Each time I got back up, no matter how bad I felt, no matter how broken I was, I proved to myself I wasn't as weak as I thought I was. To any other person, it wouldn't seem like a win. It would feel like nothing at all. But then I saw how far the progress had gone. A quiet morning when I sat down to work, and for once, surprisingly, there was no war inside my mind. The voices in my mind, the urge to give in to distractions, were all still there, but they seemed quieter, almost weaker, as though someone had come and lowered the volume of my mind. I took a deep breath, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. And in that action, I realized how far I've gotten. For the first time in what felt like the first time, I finished what I started. Sure, the project wasn't perfect, but it was done. Made by me, thought by me, and most importantly, finished by me. And as I looked at it, a series of emotions took over me: relief, pride, and even a hint of joy. This wasn't just progress anymore. It was proof that the hours of struggle, the countless failures, and the willingness to never give up had been worth it. I started to notice change in other areas of my life too. Work I once hated became a chance to prove my strength. Decisions that once froze me in fear now carried a hopeful sense of purpose. Discipline, once a burden I carried, had become something else entirely, a source of power. It wasn't about being perfect or never failing. It was about the control I'd gained over myself, the ability to move forward despite the weight of doubt or fear. For the first time, I felt like I was steering my own ship, no longer a passenger drifting aimlessly through life. And with each step forward, the path in front of me became clearer, the possibilities at my fingertips. Looking back, I can barely recognize the person I used to be, the one who lived by hesitation, ruled by easy satisfaction and lazy effort. Life feels different now, not because it's easier, but because I'm stronger. Discipline has built itself into the foundation of my days, rebuilding everything it touches. My actions carry a purpose I'd forgotten I was capable of. My relationships feel deeper, more honest, as if the struggle within me finally became small enough to let others in. But the biggest change lies within myself. I no longer fear the silence or those dark moments that used to force me to see all the ways I I felt worthless. Instead, I've learned to sit with it, to understand that those moments aren't enemies, they're teachers. They're reminders that the path to becoming better isn't about getting rid of your flaws or never failing. It's about choosing to try again, over and over, to keep going no matter what. Discipline isn't to show off. It's not about getting endless victories or having a perfect routine. It's about showing up when no one else will, even on the days when you feel broken, even on the days when it feels like nothing is changing. Because in the end, it's not the big wins that change you, it's the accumulation of those small acts of courage. If you're facing what I faced, wondering if it's possible for you to change, let me tell you this. It is. Start small, fail often, but don't stop. One day, you'll look back and realize that every step, no matter how small, brought you closer to the person you were always meant to be. And in that very moment, you'll know it was worth it.